Hello guys, welcome to Raising Reef. I'm Rob Shaw and today's video is about moving my tank. So this tank has been set up for about 2.5 years. It was a temporary tank. I closed down a 6 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot aquarium that I had on the other side of my room, and I set this up on a bit of a whim just so that I could keep hold of some of the corals that otherwise I would have been sorry to be without. The reason for breaking down the big tank was that we was going to move house, and this process has taken a lot longer than I was expecting. This particular tank's been now running for 2.5 years and it's done really well. I'm really pleased with the way it's going. For any of you people that have been watching this for any length of time, you'll know that I do have another tank almost identical to this, ready to be it's already set up, and I've made a load of videos about all of the different processes and all of the different elements to that tank, and that is going to be going into storage. Because unlike what happens when people normally move house, where they will pack up all their stuff on a certain day, move to the new house, unpack it, and the job's done, we're not going to be doing anything quite as easy as that. We've sold our house and we've committed to move, and in fact in about 2 or 3 days time we vacate this property. Tomorrow I need to move this tank, but we don't have a house to move it to that we're going to be living in permanently. We're going into temporary accommodation whilst we continue to search for the right property for us, and that means this tank was left in a little bit of limbo. I've been through a number of different options when it comes to moving this tank. One option was to break the tank down completely. Another option was to break it down but find somebody to look after some of the key corals and fish that I wanted to really hang on to. And another option was to move the whole tank completely to a temporary location for as long as it takes for us to find a new property. So I originally started off with moving the whole tank to a friend of mine who said he would look after it, but then I wasn't sure exactly how long that was going to be and I thought it was unfair, so I moved to the option of breaking it down and just saving a few corals and pieces and getting someone to look after them, which was going quite well. But the friend that was going to look after him is a guy called Bradley. I really appreciate the offer. But he was shutting down his tank and setting up a new tank to hold whatever pieces he wanted. He didn't have enough time. He had a big tank and he wanted a smaller tank that was more manageable, a bit like what I did when I moved to this tank. I love my little tank now. But he had a few little issues with setting it up and it was taking a little bit too long, and I was a little bit concerned that maybe it would be a little bit too newly set up for my corals to settle in whilst it was going through its whole cycle and settling itself down. So in order to avoid that anxiety, a friend of mine stepped up and said, you know what, I'll take the whole system, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to find a new property, I will look after it for you at my house. Well, I couldn't pass up that opportunity to keep the whole system running. At least I know that it works, the system is running and it's mature, and all I've got to do is, it will be a little bit of an upheaval to rip all of the stuff out, put it into containers, move it to a new place, put it all back together, but essentially the elements are all there. It's just going to be a little bit of a hiccup in its general cycle. Hopefully it all goes well and we don't have any real temperature problems. It's getting cold, we're in November now, so the temperature outside in the UK is dropping quite low, averaging around 10 degrees at the moment, so there is a possibility during the move that the temperature could drop a fair bit from here to the new location. The new location for this tank is probably about an hour's drive away from here, but when you take into the reality of breaking down the system, moving all the rocks, loading into the van, taking it to the location, unloading the van, before I actually get the heaters running and heat the system back up again, it could have dropped a fair bit. So that is a risk, and we will obviously do what we can to speed the process up to make sure that the minimum amount of time is spent with these corals in water that isn't heated. The problem with this tank is that it was put together in a bit of a hash, and when I picked it up it was an old, I think it had been used as a frag tank maybe, or just a hobby tank, and it was in a bit of a state, and the pipe work needed a little bit of jiggery pokery, if you like, to get it all together. I managed to get it all working, and it's worked fine for the last 2.5 years, but I'm not 100% confident about taking it apart. So if I can, I don't want to. What I want to do is I want to drain the tank, remove the rocks, put that into some storage containers, move them, drain the sump, try to get the sump out, but if I can't without disturbing the pipework that leads down into the sump, I'm going to leave that in situ. I've got some cardboard corners that run the whole length of the tank. I'm going to take off the wooden panels around the side. It sits on a metal frame, so it's really sturdy. I'm going to put the corners on. I'm going to shrink wrap the whole tank together. It has a metal frame on the back which kind of helps to support the tank glass itself, and I'm going to pick the whole thing up in one go, load it onto the back of the van, strap it up nice and securely, and just ship the whole thing over to my mate's house. And then do the same thing in reverse. Pull it off the tank in one big piece, put it in position, take the shrimp rack off, take all of the wrapping off of it, and hopefully everything makes it in one piece. And what we've got to do is take all of the equipment, put it back in, fill it with water, put the rocks back in with the corals and the fish, and everything is going to be hunky-dory. So that is the plan for this tank, and with a bit of luck it will all move smoothly. This is the night before the move. I will be getting up early tomorrow morning, starting the process of breaking this tank down and relocating it to my friend's house. I will try to bring you along in this video for as much of the process as I can, but my concentration is definitely going to be on the welfare of my corals and my fish, not filming what I'm doing. So all that's left for me to do now is to try and go and get a good night's sleep, and I'll see you back here in the morning. So it's 8 o'clock in the morning, the day of the move. As you can see, the lights are just coming up on the tank. I'm going to have my morning cup of tea. I've just hosed off a load of containers that I'm going to be putting all the equipment into and storing it in the back of the van. I'm going to put you out of the way so you can see what's going on, but I'm not getting in my way, and we'll get on with this. So the plan is to move this tank to my friend's house. I'm going to be leaving the display tank running for as long as possible. I'm going to be able to shut everything else down, start packaging all that up, ready to go into the back of the van, and then the last thing I will do is take out the corals and the fish and the rocks, and I will put them into totes ready to go into the back of the van, and then hopefully I can wrap this tank up completely as one unit. I will remove the doors on the side, so you've got the tank, the metal stand, and possibly the sump. I'm going to secure all those together, and hopefully I can take it all out in one go. That's the plan, and we'll see how we get on. So I've left a couple of inches of water in this refugium. Bob's still in there, and the callirpa, I don't really want it drying out, so hopefully we've got enough space in the top of there for any water to splosh around without actually coming out, and that's that bit done. So by leaving the display tank till last, I've saved myself an hour where I haven't had to touch it, and I've got all of this other crap out of the way. So now it's time to switch everything off on the main display, and this is where the time really starts ticking. Doesn't seem to matter how many times I reorganise my wires. Every time I come to take things apart, they're all tangled together.